Welcome to the Fishing Daily podcast, and we're here on the final day of the Catch Welfare Platform Conference in Bergen in Norway. And I'll be speaking to Jenny and Joao from Carefish Catch, and we'll be talking about the catching and catch welfare in the wild fish fishing sector. Welcome to you both.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, could you tell us a little bit about Carefish Catch and what you do within it?
So I'm going to go first.
Yes.
I'm Joao Saraiva. I'm a researcher at the Fish Eco Group and at the Center of Marine Sciences in Portugal. I'm a fish ethologist, so I work on fish behavior and then on the implications of fish behavior to welfare. I've been doing this focused a lot on farmed fish. But we realized there was a need also to address the issue on the catch part. So we devised this project called the Carefish Catch, together with a series of partners, with Fair-Fish and Friend of the Sea and Demos, to establish standards, welfare standards for certified fisheries from Friend of the Sea. So that's probably the ultimate deliverable of this project. And we focus a lot on our case studies are artisanal fisheries in southern Portugal, or small scale fisheries. And that's where we do our experimental approach, and we try to assess the welfare or lack thereof of fish during the catching process. And then try to propose or implement solutions that can improve the welfare of those animals. And along this route, we discover a lot of things that were basically knowledge gaps that we didn't know about fisheries biology and welfare science in these animals. Another quite important deliverable of this project, or part of this project, is a database on the welfare of wild-caught fish, and this is where Jenny, which is also the co-PI of the project, is more focused on.
Yeah, so hello, Jenny Wolstorf is my name. I'm from Fair-Fish. We are an NGO looking to change the perception of people towards fishes. And I'm the director of the Fair-Fish database, which Joao mentioned. So far, we have been looking into collecting the knowledge that is available in the scientific literature on welfare-related things on aquatic species, welfare-related knowledge on aquatic species. And the contribution of the database is to assess what the situation is under the normal circumstances, what the welfare can be at best, and then how improving the situation changes also the potential of experiencing good welfare. And as I said, so far we have been doing this mostly on farmed aquatic species, but within the scope of this project, we have now also broadened our scope towards fisheries.
And what sort of gaps in knowledge are we looking at? Could you give us a few examples?
Well, in many species, there's no knowledge at all about their biology. I mean, we've been catching a lot of species where we know nothing about. We know they're caught at a certain depth, at a certain time of the year, with certain métiers, with certain fishing methods, but we don't know much more than that. So, for example, assess how they cope with the fishing methods, how much can they deal with this, how quickly do they die, and how does that affect quality, for example? There's nothing known, and when we're talking about experimentally, we're talking about 5 major fishing methods that we are addressing in our experiments, but the number of species that we catch with those methods is enormous. So where to start? So these are some of the challenges that we started off. So we have no baseline, for example, on stress levels of chub mackerel. or mullet, or for example, in sea bream and sea bass, which are also caught in fishing, but also in agriculture, we do have quite a bit of knowledge there. So we can relate if a fish is experiencing high stress or low stress when it's being caught, or what method could be used to reduce the suffering of the fish, to implement a quicker death. For those species, we do know, but for many others, there's nothing there. So the first challenge is to establish the baseline. So this is why the database is very important. So we start to collect and make it systematic. The way of collection and this knowledge will serve as a base, which will then be able to evaluate if we change the type of hooks or the soaking time of nets or the type of materials or other technological advances that would enable us to actually measure the effects of what we are actually doing. But without those baselines, and we're flying blind.
The first thing that comes to mind is the first profile that we did on wild-caught fishes in the new database, or in the new branch of the database, was Engralis ringens. This is the Peruvian anchoveta off the coast of Peru and Chile. We searched and searched and searched, and there was hardly anything there. It's really shocking, and this is the most frequently caught single species worldwide. Yeah, so I think this already shows the need for more welfare-related knowledge.
Do you think, in the sense that, you know, the ocean is a very big place. It's very deep. There's lots of different things happening in it within the ocean itself. I suppose maybe in reality, like, science is very much it's still in an infancy when you come down to having to research what's happening in the oceans.
It's quite that. I mean, we know quite a bit. Well, we know quite a bit more about the species that are being farmed, and still there. I mean, we have the experience from the database. There are about 30 land animals that are being farmed species-wise. In aquaculture, there are 400. So we know a lot about salmon, a little bit less about trout. And then if you go down the species, mostly farmed in Western Europe, we know a little bit less about sea bream, sea bass, and then all of the rest is, I mean, we can actually quantify how certain we are about the findings, because actually that's part of the database. And when you get to the wild-caught species, I mean, it's exactly how you put it. It's still in infancy. So it's like little dots of knowledge in an ocean of ignorance. So what we're doing, and I'm paraphrasing Mike Breen because he used this example. So what we're trying now is to somehow connect the dots so instead of having small islands scattered, we start to have more knowledge that can be, put together in a way that you can understand in a broader scope what's going on. This is not only about welfare. I mean, about welfare, we're still pretty much starting to walk. But even about systems biology and ecosystem level.
Probably have a lot of fishermen who will be going, well, do we need all the science and do we need all this knowledge and everything else? But when it comes to understanding the behavior of certain fish species, do you think that will help improve, like some ISIS and that, who gives out fisheries advice? Do you think that will aid them in being better understanding where a fish stock is going over a period of time?
Jenny.
Yeah, I mean, so you mean, turning it on its head. Okay, so we are looking from the welfare perspective, but they could benefit from the perspective of getting more catch, actually.
Well, not so much getting more catch, but say now for example, like North Sea cod, right? They're saying there's 3 different areas of cod and they behave differently in a certain way. But if you can understand how that fish can behave or react to certain circumstances and certain conditions, that could maybe help regenerate a fish population that's maybe not doing too well under the current way that's been fished, or maybe the advice that's being given out on it?
Well, especially being at this conference, I realized that maybe there's a lot of knowledge out there, because I believe that the fishing folks are very knowledgeable about their fishes. They know where to find them, they know how to handle them, but maybe there is no conversation between them and science and policy, and B, maybe they can't listen to their instincts because they have to earn their living and I don't know, have to put their concerns aside a little bit. But I do believe that there's knowledge out there, but we are looking primarily in the scientific literature, and there we can't find it. So maybe that's why I see this catch welfare platform as so beneficial, bringing the stakeholders together and talking to each other. Because one thing that we don't want to do with the database, for example, is to tell fishing folks how to do their job. We acknowledge that they are the experts. We are the ones, trying to give them hints what they could do, or just proposing, well, if you change this thing, you could improve the welfare, but how to change it? What would you think? Getting in contact with them, keeping up the conversation. This is what I believe is important.
But then making this knowledge come together, you would actually, yes, very easily find ways to improve the condition of fish stocks, for example. And to know if a certain species breeds and spawns at a certain time of the year, if there is no knowledge about that, you might be catching the fish before they spawn. So if you aim for a certain period of the year, and if you have knowledge about that, and you allow them to spawn, and then there's more fish next year. So just by shifting a little bit, and by understanding that season is spawning season, to avoid going there or before that, but a few months later, you can actually improve the health of the fish stock. So this kind of knowledge may help. May not be directly welfare related, but gathering knowledge can actually help in many ways. And in one way, the health of fish stocks can be benefited from this.
Well, it's one of those things. Yes, fishermen understand that the health of the fish stock is highly important to them, but they also understand that when people start talking about catch welfare, and they're talking about this morning, we talk about stunning fish and stuff like that, and that's all an extra cost and that extra time. Somewhere along the line, there has to be a payoff and within the industry for it, because he said the fisherman needs to make a living. So if fishermen and scientists collaborate together, there can be benefits. It's not just a one-way street.
Of course. And one of the major aims of this platform in itself is to discover how to do that, I would say. And this is why I see there's so much interest, genuine interest in making this come together, because no one wants to hinder the livelihood of fishermen. I think the aim is and the challenge is how do we make this without causing them to lose money. But it's interesting that the way the market works in the fish, especially, for example, in Portugal. So all the fish is landed in a fish auction that is state controlled. So regardless of if a fisherman catches the fish in a very humane way, and if it uses stunning, as if a fisherman has invested in methods, it lands the fish and it goes right together with someone else who didn't do that investment. So, for example, here in Portugal, in this country, it's very hard because of the system itself. So I think there needs to be a system approach. So policy would have to accommodate this new consciousness, awareness that welfare matters, even because of quality. We do know that quality is paramount, and good welfare measures or good fishing standards would increase the quality of the fish, and that benefits everyone. So focusing on better rather than more would be a way. But there are challenges. There are practical challenges. How do we do this? How do we, in the end, how do we make the cost fair for everyone? So if we're eating a better fish, we should be paying more for it. But that money should be going to the fisherman, not to the middleman. Middleman. So this is part of the challenge. But I guess somewhere today there will be a talk addressing that. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're looking at a whole new dynamic, on catch welfare as a whole new dynamic across the board for the present fishing industry. And like for yourselves, where is Carefish Catch going next? What's your next plan? Or is there another conference you're going to do, or what's on the agenda too?
Well, what we aim. So again, as I said, one of the main objectives of this project is to produce welfare standards for third-party certification. And either you agree with it or not, the third-party private certifications are there and they exist. And I think it's a very good pilot to assess how broader policies would work. And these certifications, serve as in theory at least, to reassure the consumer that their fish is sustainably caught, or in this case, treated with good welfare. There's certainly a challenge there, and our objective here. So we're going to focus on 5 fisheries for the initial certification, and one way to do it would be to expand this to other countries, other types of fishing, because again, the world is not Europe, and there's far more than we may think. So expanding this to learning this from what are other countries doing, what are the other types of fisheries, and how could we benefit everyone with better fishing practices. So that would be, I think, the next step in this would be to expand the knowledge, be it certification or not, to expand this knowledge into actual practical measures that can be certified or audited, or at least reassure a way for the consumers and policymakers to be sure that that some measures are being implemented and they have an actual result.
Well, it'll be interesting because when we're looking at the market, as you mentioned there, the seafood market as a global market, you get prawns flown in from Thailand, you get cod from Norway, you get cod from Russia. It'll be a big challenge. What do you think, Jenny?
What do you mean a big challenge to implement standards worldwide?
Standards worldwide, so that all fishermen are receiving a decent income from their work.
Definitely. I mean, how can it not be a big challenge? Yeah, but it's working in aquaculture, so I have hopes that it will also work in fisheries. And it doesn't have to be standards all from one certification scheme. There are many out there in aquaculture and in fisheries as well. So combined forces, I would say. And it's not, coming back to what you said before, it's not like we put something on the fishing folks that they don't want. It's quite the opposite. What I heard here in this conference, for example, is so there was a collaboration with one fishing company on this MHS system that Martin de Beer developed, and the people were actually sad when the trial stopped, and they said, okay, we're now taking our gear with us, you go back to your old gear. They were sad because they saw the effects, they saw the better quality and what they can potentially achieve. They don't want to, well, I'm saying I assume that there's more out there who would be willing to invest and to do something to have a better product for them. They call it product. We would call it fishes and improving fish welfare. So yeah, I believe that if we spread the message and people will become aware that there can be better methods to catching fishes, then I hope that the motivation is there for them to actually implement them and improve the situation.
We'll still see a lot of implementation of new measures is down to the consumer, what the consumer wants. Is that something that you can work on as well?
Yes, actually, one partner in our consortium that Joao mentioned before looks into how to engage consumers, and there the idea is that you probably won't come very far when you feed them with scientific information, because that goes in one ear and out in the other one. But this partner Demos is looking into engaging consumers on an emotional level, so catching them on their emotional level, so to say, and they are approaching consumers and trying to remind them then that what they are eating is not a product, but it was once a living being, and making the connection again that what you eat you should have respect for. And so they're looking into when you try to make a change in one person and you reach that person, how will this spread within the network of this person and then spread from people to people? Basically, how videos get viral these days. You catch one person and then this person tells all their peers and then this message spreads. So this is what they're looking into. How can you reach consumers to make them aware of the beautiful nature of fishes, how intelligent they can be, and that they are experiencing pain and that we should care for them, and how this spreads in their networks.
Okay, I think we've learned a lot here today about fish and Carefish catch. And now, for people who's watching this who wants to find out more, where do they go to find out?
We have our website, carefish.net. Currently, it has it's a homepage of the project. Some of the deliverables that we are producing are already there. So we're producing dissemination reports on some of these aspects of the fishing methods. So what is happening with the fish while it's being caught, what species are being caught, and how can we improve that? So these awareness / policy documents are there, freely downloadable. There's also a link to the database, to the Fair-Fish database that is now online. So I invite everyone to visit the website and let us know what you think. There's a form there, or email us with the contacts that are on our website. Also through our social media, we've been pretty active disseminating the message through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or X nowadays. And there we are active. We have a very nice communications team that is doing all this dissemination work, and we're trying to make this website and all the platforms a living thing. So we try to update them as frequently as possible. So there's a lot of news. I mean, our presence in the media and conferences and all these things, and the news from the project itself. And yeah, we're excited to move things on, and especially we are excited of how this Carefish catch will then engage with the catch welfare platform.
Well, thank you again, Jenny and Joe, and I'd like to thank Paul, our cameraman here for the past few days. Yes, thank you very much, and hopefully we'll catch up maybe another time and find out what's happening in the future.
Thank you.